On today's Locked On Senators, it's game day. The Sens play one of their final 3 home games, taking on the Florida Panthers.
And with just 8 games remaining, we take a look at some of the things we want to see this team do down the stretch.
One in particular, and it's in goal. We'll get into all that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 1017 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We are back from Minnesota and ready for another game day for the Ottawa Senators. As always, you can follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where we say hello and let you know a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Make sure to check us out after tonight's game for the POSTCAST. Today is Thursday, April 4th, and Pilsy. No Matthew Tkachuk tonight, so no line brawl to start the game?
Yeah, probably not going to start the game the same way the New Jersey Devils and New York Rangers started, unfortunately, because that was electric. Even if he was, we all know the Tkachuk brothers not allowed to fight.
They got pretty close last time. Not last time, 2 times ago, but I don't know. Now they're in the same division. I think all rules, they're meant to be broken.
Well, I would say if they met in the playoffs, the rules would be broken. Regular season, I don't know.
Playoffs?
It's not going to happen this year. Although they do have 2 more matchups tonight and then back in Florida a little later on. But yeah, I believe Matthew Tkachuk has a bit of an illness, so we'll see if he plays. I don't think it's not looking like he is going to play. And another note, Ross, I just checked. Aaron Ekblad left the last game with an injury, so not 100% sure if he's going to be back either.
We'll find out later on today. You can follow us on Twitter for more information on that sort of thing as they update at Sens Central. We're going to be following throughout the show as we're recording just after 9 a.m. on Thursday, if and who the Senators could call up. If you want more on that conversation, check out yesterday's episode of Locked On Senators. Now, they do have the option of going 11-7 and not calling anybody up. Travis Hamonic is healthy and ready, waiting. And Thomas Chabot made the trip to Winnipeg and Minnesota, but did not play. So there are some other options, but if they do want 12 forwards after Angus Crookshank's injury, they will need to make a recall.
Or maybe they put Brandy back at forward.
Yeah, you could put Brandy back at forward. I think he's been playing his best hockey of his career, though, right where he is with Tyler Klevin. I think in a perfect world, as we know, the playoffs so out of reach, it's about what you can do to learn about your core, learn about your team, learn about your prospects. And I think having Klevin with Brandstrom for the rest of the year would be, as you teased on the top, one of those things that I would like to see going forward.
Although, Ross, we do know this is previous management, so I don't know if that still stands, but we do know a big reason why Travis Hamonic was acquired was to be a mentor for Tyler Klevin, and you get the lefty-righty there, so maybe they decide to put that together there. And
one game, we called it.
give Hamonic a shot there. But yeah, I do agree. I think Brandy's been playing nicely lately. I've said, I think the Brandy and Klevin pair, that's a good yin and yang combo. You got the short, offensive, skilled, puck-moving guy in Brandstrom, and then you got the big, mean, shutdown, physical defenseman in Klevin. Although Klevin in Minnesota, Ross, I noticed he was really doing a good job of carrying the puck up the ice and playing with confidence. So that's a nice pair, and we'll see if they stick together or what Jacques Martin's going to do here as we're recording early.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if he's going to keep together that Casty, Kachuk, Kelly line. They definitely took a step backwards in Minnesota. And again, everything was kind of thrown into a blender once Crookshank left 3.5 minutes in. So there wasn't the same consistency that we saw in Winnipeg where, I mean, the fourth line was great again. Boris scored a goal. Like, let's go. And I think right now, to me, I want to see Matty Joseph pop off a little bit offensively because he's been put in a great situation. Yet earlier in the year, when he was on the quote-unquote third line, when he was playing alongside Vladimir Tarasenko and Ridley Gregg, that was the most offense we were getting from him. Timmy, couple big assists, but only with one goal in his last handful of games. So I'd like to see, and Claude Giroux, the production has definitely pulled back a bit, still doing a lot of great things on the ice, winning faceoffs, all that. But I'd like to see that line contribute. And how many times can I say 2 goals from Timmy before I just ask for 1?
Yeah, exactly. We might have to change our strategy 1 goal at a time here, Ross. But
can't score 2 without scoring 1.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I would like for Jacques Martin to elevate Parker Kelly and demote Dominic Kubalik. You could still keep the Triple K line at the bottom there with Kubalik if he was to go down there. I think Kachuk and Casty, that they have good chemistry down on the fourth line, and Parker Kelly is a guy that has already shown that he can play in an elevated role for a small sample size. Everyone knows he's not a top 6 guy, but I think on a third line, he could give a little bit of a boost to Ridley Gregg and whoever is going to fill that spot there. We still don't know.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see down the stretch. 8 games remaining. And look, we're going to miss it when it's gone. So we got to enjoy it how we can here. And they've got a lot of divisional games, as you already mentioned. They've got Florida. Then they're going down to Florida where they'll play Tampa and they'll play the Lightning. They've got Montreal and Boston in terms of divisional games. Those aren't in order, but I do think that you want to win those because so far this season, the Sens have actually got a pretty good head-to-head record against the Atlantic Division. They're 0-1-1 against Boston. They've got a great record against Detroit, Montreal, and Toronto. And then against the other teams in the division, they're still looking to kind of find their way against those top teams.
Even with Buffalo, that's what you want as well.
Buffalo, they tied 2-2 was the series, but against the top dogs, other than Toronto, who are they a top dog or are they a fraud?
Not against Ottawa.
Exactly. But Florida and Boston, that's the class of the division.
Yes.
They're 0-2-2 in 4 games.
Florida and Boston, that's the class of the conference.
Right.
Ross. So yeah, it's those
need
are
one win.
Yeah.
They play them each. They play 3 more games. 2 Florida, 1 Boston. Need at least 1, preferably 2, 3 would be funny.
Yeah, let's get the wins at home. If you're gonna stink on the road, Gord Stellick line. So let's beat the Panthers at home. Let the Panthers fans have their victory down in Florida. And we haven't talked much about must-win games, Ross, but April 13th, the home closer up against the Habs. We will have boots on the ground. I'm going ahead and declaring that one a must-win.
Oh, easily. And look, Ottawa, Montreal, they're tied in the standings right now. And I know there's people that want the tank just low as possible, low and steady, kind of like a good round of golf. But right now, I'm of the mind that Montreal drafting 1 spot ahead of Ottawa is humorous. It could make for great memes going forward. Hopefully, they don't lose the player so early. I had so many more uses of the goal where Brady Tkachuk beat Kotkaniemi to the net in rookie tournament and then yelled at him. There's a great photo of that.
Yep.
I could only use it for like 2 years before they moved on. And Carolina signed him to that massive offer sheet, which, I mean, at the time was pretty wild, but I think it was payback from the Sebastian Aho offer sheet that Montreal had given him the summer before. But I'm happy if Montreal drafts 1 spot ahead of Ottawa. And also, like, they're in a deep rebuild. They're like 2018-19 Ottawa Senators rebuild right now. Can't have their fans saying they finished ahead of us in the standings.
No, it'd be a bad look. Although, Ross, I know for you, the content and the meme game is important. Not sure if Steve Stais and the crew are focused on the meme game for the Ottawa Senators.
No, but
forward.
We are kind of a verbal meme, the 2 ripped arms meeting in the middle because they want to win games. They definitely don't want to be drafting in the top 5. Another elite tanking team, the Arizona Coyotes, like they're out of the race with Ottawa. I feel like 3 points back, but last night tied at 1 with Vancouver and give up a goal with 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, until late that game, Ross, I was watching that game for the most part. The Arizona Coyotes were struggling just to get shots on net. I think the first period they had 2 shots, and then second period like 6 or something. So I'm not too worried about them winning games here.
A lot of fun storylines, though, as we head down the stretch in the regular season. We will be your team every day in the playoffs as well, doing our draft profiles, top 80 draft prospects coming. We'll build our way up to the mock draft that we do, full first round mock draft. Yeah. We're going to do a little teaser mock draft after the draft lottery. Still no official word when that will be, likely in early May. So we'll have that all coming up here on Locked On Senators, as well as our hashtag Sens Abroad, where we follow former Senators who are playing in the playoffs. And one of them will be in tonight's game. What's Vladimir Tarasenko been up to in Florida? We'll get into that conversation, a full game day preview, and I want to see something in particular from Joonas Korpisalo down the stretch. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Ross, you and I spent a bunch of time on the road, so we know how important it is to have your car ready to go.
1,500 kilometers, but who's counting?
Yep, the Honda CRV was ready to go because passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance. They got superchargers, they got roof racks, they got exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. So whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. It's that simple. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not burning cash. With all the parts you need, but at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that W. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Check it out today, guys. eBay Motors.
Game day for the Ottawa Senators at home, taking on the Florida Panthers. A Panthers team that has struggled of late. Only 2 wins in their last 10 games, but they are still second in the division. They are 4 points back of Boston, each with just 6 games remaining. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs 4 points back of the Florida Panthers, despite beating them just a couple nights ago. But before we get to a full game day preview, we said we'd be tracking the interwebs, and the Senators have just posted Jiri Smejkal has been recalled. The big Czech winger has 3 points in his last 3 games down in Belleville. He will be a free agent after this year. So you like the move? One last kind of big look at Jiri Smejkal?
Ross, I can't decide. We had discussed the possibility that Jiri Smejkal would be a guy brought up. Now, I would love to be a fly on the wall in the room when they were deciding this, because we had looked at this of all angles. I'm curious to see if the narrative for this was, hey, let's get Jiri Smejkal up, see what we got in him a little bit more, and see, maybe does he have a future with this franchise? Do we want to keep him around, etc.? Or was it the spin zone and being like, look, we know he's not going to be a part of this franchise moving forward. We've already seen what we have from him, and we want to keep our young prospects and our top dogs down in Belleville to help them make the push. So let's just move Jiri Smejkal up so we don't have to disrupt it too much down in Belleville. So I'd be so curious to know what the angle was with this. No offense meant to Jiri Smejkal. It's just he's in a very interesting situation with the Ottawa Senators right now.
Well, he's 27 years old, right? So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, what does he need to do to take the next step and reach his potential? Feels like it's kind of what you see is what you get. It's just a matter of how much more comfortable he can get. Now, not much opportunity in his 12 NHL games so far, averaging under 9 minutes per game, especially the last couple, like against San Jose. Now, it was a 2-1 loss to San Jose, so I don't think anybody's really kind of happy. Played 4 minutes, 7 shifts in that game. But typically, he's been up around that 8-9 minute mark. He's been a -2, but -3 in one game. The loss to New Jersey around Christmas time at home. Still looking for his first NHL goal. So that, to me, would be a fun kind of moment if he can get that down the stretch here, because I do believe Angus Crookshank will be out for the rest of the season. That's unconfirmed. Hopefully not. I actually hope he comes back sooner rather than later. But the way he went into the boards, the way he left early, I'm not confident. I just hope that he gets to 100%, that he can go and help Belleville for a playoff run. Please, I need it so bad. Belleville, by the way, we'll touch on them tomorrow in the game. But Smejkal will be a UFA because of the age. He signed his contract with Ottawa, coming back over after spending last year in Sweden in the SHL. Was productive there, 43 points in 49 games. Hasn't gone his way, even in Belleville. 9 goals in 45 games, 22 points, -7 as well. But he started ice cold, has been playing better of late, much like the team probably in the last 2-3 months. We know he brings size, brings physicality, and hey, get him in the lineup. Let's see what he's got. Looks like my guess is he'll just slot right in on that third line with Ridley Gregg and Dominic Kubalik.
Oh, yeah, that's your guess. I was just about to say, Ross, I think Kelly is going to be the guy that gets elevated to the third line, and then Smejkal probably takes his spot on the fourth line.
What I would say is Kelly will play more minutes, but maybe a 5-on-5 just to keep things regular. And then we know Kelly kills penalties too. But yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised with that. In a perfect world, you probably bump up both. I don't know. I've seen enough of Kubalik, and not only that, but Smejkal's kind of they're similar in a sense where it's these big rangy wingers, and it's I don't know, man.
Yeah. That's honestly, I would rather get a better look at Smejkal than Kubalik. So
I'd rather get a better look at Boris Tkachuk. I mean, at least Tkachuk's an RFA, so they have some decisions to make in terms of qualifying him. Are you going to get him on a deal where you could put him in the minors if you have to, or put him on waivers like that? Or is he kind of fighting for a one-way gig or not even being qualified? So there's lots of discussions that
like to
will
keep
be
Boris around, whether even if it's on a cheap, obviously low-term one-way deal. I'd be down for that.
Okay, so the Ottawa Senators, we just discussed the bottom 6, the top 6 expected for tonight. Shane Pinto between Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson. Tim Stützle between Mathieu Joseph and Claude Giroux. On defense, Jake Sanderson, Artem Zub, Jacob Chychrun with JBD, Tyler Clevin with Eric Branstrom. Of course, this is before the morning skate. We could have Thomas Chabot back. That would be great. We could have Travis Hamonic back. That would be just fine. No word on who starts in goal. Pilsy, you're a locked-on player to watch.
My locked-on player to watch, Ross, is going to be number 19, Drake Batherson. He's been on a bit of a heater lately. The last 6 games, about 9 points. Not bad at all. And the only game he didn't have any points in that 6-game stretch was up against the Chicago Blackhawks. So Drake Batherson has been good. I've really liked that connection between him and Chychrun on the power play. He's been able to find him in that spot with great passing. That's the thing about Batherson that I feel like a lot of people downplay. They look at the maybe lack of defensive play. They look at the plus minus not being so great, and they forget about his offensive ability. And being a dual threat, a pass or shoot option, makes him so dangerous on the power play, because especially we've seen Drake Batherson be absolutely clutch from the rock star zone. So he heads to that weird angle, and teams are like, okay, there's no way he's going to shoot that. And he shoots it, and he's able to beat goalies. But then when he's there, now people check the game notes, they watch film, and they're like, oh man, we gotta cover the shot here. So they start covering the shot. What does that do? Opens the lane up for Chychrun to slide in and be there ready for a one-timer. And Batherson's been able to hit him right on the tape with crispy passes. So I'm really going to be watching Drake Batherson here, as he's been very hot lately.
And our guy at Laleem's Martian on Twitter saying, hey, how about Brady Tkachuk? Brady Tkachuk is only 7 goals away from 40. I say only because I think our guy Martian is getting a little excited here. 7 more goals to reach 40. There's 8 games left.
I love the optimism.
I love the optimism. How about this? Why don't we do it this way? He's 3 goals away from setting a new career high.
Yeah.
Let's get to 36 before we get to 40.
Yeah, just with Timmy, instead of asking for 2 goals, let's ask for 1, and we'll work from there. We'll do the same thing with Brady Tkachuk. I like it, Ross.
Yeah, let's just get 1 tonight. But Brady's been on fire of late. He really has been playing and leading this team. Now, let's see how that carries over to next season, because we've kind of seen these sort of runs, not necessarily just from Brady, but from the team. And it's like, okay, let's play these style of games. Let's get on these point streaks earlier on in the season. I totally understand that look. But for my locked on player, it's going to be Jake Sanderson. Watching this guy live the last 2 games, just dances with the puck. He's tied his total from his rookie season, 32 points. I'd like to see that over 35. You look, there's some young kids around the league, from Luke Hughes to Brock Faber, who we just saw in Minnesota. They're up over 40 points. And I know Jake brings a lot more defensively, killing penalties, shutting down plays. He's on the top pair. The shutdown pair has been all year. I'd like to see him get to over 35 points this year. So that's just 3 more for him. He's at 32. And man, what a treat to watch play live.
Yeah, I agree, Ross. The one thing I would say I'd like to see from Sandy, and this is nitpicking for sure, it's that time of year, unfortunately, where Thomas Chabot is missing time at the end of the year. We saw that last year, and we saw Jake Sanderson have an elevated role and play more time on the power play. Sanderson's done a really good job of trying to be more confident shooting the puck, but it hasn't necessarily converted into power play goals or even that many power play points for him. So I'd like to see him rack up some points on the man advantage here.
Well, power play looked good the last 2 games, right? Well, how about last game plus the last power play in Winnipeg that won them the game?
Yes, sir.
But in Minnesota, they go 2 for.
Yep,
they got
2
both
for 3
goals on the power play. So hopefully that trend continues, because you're right. They just need some confidence on the power play and get that thing going. All right, 7 o'clock puck drop tonight. We'll look at the Florida Panthers and how the Sens should share the crease next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, tons of time left, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good until April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker dealer. Check it out today, guys. Robinhood.
All right, Pilsy, here we are. It's game day. We're both in Winnipeg right now, driving Pilsy back to the airport. He'll be back in time to bring you the postcast tonight after the Ottawa Senators host the Florida Panthers. Only 3 home games remaining, 8 games left on the schedule, and we'll look at Florida, but I really want to see a lot of Joonas Korpisalo down the stretch. And watch, by the time people are listening to this, Anton Forsberg will start tonight.
And Ross, how many times have we said that during the season? I really want to see Joonas Korpisalo. This is a new phrase for us.
It certainly is. And I'm still getting used to it. But meaningless games, it's almost like at this point, I want to see the workload first off. Next game will be his 50th game.
Well, we've seen the workload.
We know Forsberg's been pulled quite a few times this year. So Joonas Korpisalo is 6 games away from 50 starts. That's the number I want. There's 1, if not 2 back-to-backs. I know the last 2 games of the season are a back-to-back.
Boston and New York. Yep.
Boston and New York, both on the road. Other than that, the Senators have 1 other back-to-back.
So you're going to see Forsberg in one of both of those back-to-backs.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. 2 back-to-backs ago, they went with Corpy, but
That's true. I think so, though.
those are the games that I'm circling for Anton Forsberg. Now, Forszy's coming off a shutout, but you have 4 more years at $4 million per season. You have 16 million reasons to get more out of Joonas Korpisalo at the end of this year to know and hopefully gain some confidence, get more video, more for the goalie coach to work with him over the summer. It's unfortunate because I think Anton Forsberg's been a very good soldier for the Ottawa Senators, but they can't run back both guys, and it's just going to come down to who it's easier to move on from.
So I'll spin zone that, Ross, and maybe play devil's advocate. For intense purposes, I agree with you. I would like to see more of Korpisalo as well. But having said that, like you said, you got this guy locked up for 4 more years, and this is the most games he's played in his entire career. So you've seen Joonas Korpisalo here. Would you then not maybe have the idea to play Forsberg more to see if he can bounce back? Like you mentioned, he's coming off a shutout. See if he can bounce back and see if you got something better out of him, or B, shine him up for other teams to see at the end of the stretch to say, hey, look, he's only got 1 year left at $2.75 million, I believe. So maybe another team, instead of having to look out at a quick buyout, maybe another team says, hey, Forsberg played pretty good down the stretch for an Ottawa Senators team that was low in the standings. Maybe we'll take a look at trying to acquire him. That could be a narrative, a spin zone that they go for as well.
With all due respect, he had 1 game with a save percentage over 879 in his last 6 starts before the shutout.
Well,
and he shut out Chicago
yeah,
with 19 saves.
Definitely. But look at Joonas Korpisalo. You could have said similar thing about him before he went on his hot streak.
Right. But he's not getting any value. And that's why you need to see more of him, because you need to have him feeling good about himself, because nobody wants him around the league. And I just don't think you can convince someone to take a 32-year-old goalie who's coming off 2 MCL injuries and in his first season back puts up his worst season in his career, an 888 save percentage, Pillsy. And not only that, he got pulled how many times?
Yeah.
6?
Ross, you don't have to convince me it's been a tough season for Forsberg. I am fully aware of that. But I'm just saying, maybe if he has a hot end of the season, you retain some salary, a team is looking, hey, we want a veteran guy to have. Goaltending is a hot commodity. I don't know. Yeah, that's just me spinning something.
Like when Matt Murray had his season where he was just, on again, off again, day to day, couldn't stay healthy. Anton Forsberg was unbelievable. Goals saved above expected, 14.5. Unreal. This year he's minus 10.4. So it's unfortunate, and hopefully Forsy can get another opportunity, because I do think he's a good goalie. But if the Senators have to bring in new blood. Look what New Jersey did. They're like, we're not getting saves. We're bringing in 2 new guys.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. I think Ottawa, you just can't run back.
No, you can't. No matter what, they cannot come back with a Forsberg Korpisalo tandem. Whatever you have to do to not bring those 2 guys back only, you got to do it.
It's Magnus Hellberg's birthday. You bet you want him back.
He has a pretty good record as an Ottawa Senator. Just saying, 1-0.
Undefeated, 1-0, and took the chain with him.
Well, that was a nice move by him. The chain wasn't it. Miss me with the chain.
No. Yeah, miss me with the chain. That chain.
More of a fire helmet guy.
Yeah, that chain grew up shiny. It didn't do anything for itself. All right, Pillsy, let's look at the Florida Panthers and how they're expected to line up in tonight's game. We already mentioned off the top of the show, oh my goodness, broadcast producers are scrambling everywhere. Matthew Tkachuk is out. They do not have that storyline to rely on. Matthew Tkachuk is out of the lineup, we expect, unless, this guy's played through a lot worse than just an illness, but with the playoffs locked up and pretty much their spot too, it's in all likelihood they're going to finish second in the Atlantic Division. Give him the night off. And Pillsy just mentioned Ekblad leaving their last game, so well, we'll see if he plays. We've got him in our projected lineup, but big letters at the top, subject to change. Alex Barkov at center between Vladimir Tarasenko and Sam Reinhart. We've got Sam Bennett between Nick Cousins and Kyle Oposo. On the third line, Anton Lundell with Eli Luosterainen, and we've got Evan Rodriguez, and the fourth line, Kevin Stenlund with Steve Lorenz and Ryan Lomberg. On the back end, it's Gustav Forsling with Aaron Ekblad, Nico Mikola, and Brandon Montour, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson is with Dmitry Kulikov. No word yet whether it's Sergei Bobrovsky or Anthony Stolarz in goal. Stolarz the type of guy, and I know these good teams, they're going to have good backups because they play better. But Stolarz, Brossois, these backups, they're giving them 920 save percentages in their starts.
Yep, exactly. That I've mentioned a couple times. That's a route I think the Ottawa Senators should look at, trying to find one of those guys. Ross, my lookout player is going to be someone who we used to be locked on to.
Yeah, he's figuring it out too, hey?
From locked on to lookout. It's sad. It feels like a distant dream.
Video tribute tonight?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like a scoreboard tribute. They're not going to actually take the time to make a 2-minute video.
Who knows? Tribute world these days is wild. So who knows what they're going to do, Ross? But I'm of course talking about Vladimir Tarasenko. He was such a good fit on this team. And Ross, how many weeks have we been discussing who's going to play that second line winger to properly have this lineup match up? Since Vladimir Tarasenko was traded, we've been talking about that, unfortunately. And Vladimir Tarasenko, he likes playing the Ottawa Senators. In 15 games, he's got 10 goals, 3 assists, so a bit of a Cy Young guy there, but 10 goals in 15 games. He's shooting at a 16.4% clip, and he's been hot with the Florida Panthers lately. He started off a little slow. He had that one big night, but lately in his last
6 games.
Yep, 6
7
games.
points.
He's got 7 points here, 3 goals, 4 assists. He's averaging 14 and a half minutes, and we know how dangerous he can be. So I'm going to be looking out for Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah, good call. In 5 of his first 6 games, 6 of his first 7, I should say, no points. Had that 3-point night against Calgary, but he's figuring it out. My lookout player, Sam Reinhart, because he's one of 3 players in the league with more than 50, count it, 50 goals on the season. So Sam Reinhart has 87 points. He's also in a contract year. He plays on the top line. He's a great shooter with over 10 shots, got 212. His shooting percentage is 24.5.
Sustainable.
It's sustained over 76 games. That's unreal.
Yeah, well, Ross, 50 goals, but what were his parents' financials like?
Pretty good, actually.
That's what, well.
His dad was an NHLer and then worked on Wall Street, so I think pretty good.
So,
Miss me?
Not a big.
Are you missing yourself?
Yeah, not a big deal getting 50 goals there.
Man, what better time to get 50 goals than contract year, though, right? I mean, Barkov's not the first time he's gotten guys paid.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. The Florida Panthers, when you take a look at their cap friendly, Ross, they have a lot of decisions to make here. Like,
just skim over their picks.
Yeah, well, yeah, you might as well scroll right past that. But Reinhart in the final year of his deal, you got Tarasenko. What are they going to do with him? Cousins, a couple minor guys there. But then on defense, Brandon Montour, he had that massive year last year. Bit of regression here. They're going to have to figure out what they're doing with Kulikov, Ekman-Larsson, and then Stolarz is on his last deal here. I wonder how they're going to handle the Spencer Knight situation. So the Florida Panthers, they're kind of hoping that they can have a big year here so that whatever they have to do in the offseason is eased a little bit by the success they have this year. And hey, we're cheering for the Panthers to win the cup. Gotta have that 4th pick turn into a 4th round pick, into a 3rd round pick. That is massive for the Ottawa Senators.
Oh my goodness. Game day for the Sens tonight. Postcast afterwards on YouTube. Then wherever you get your podcast. Pilsy, it's been a great week, basically.
Yep.
It's been a very great week. Got the win in Winnipeg. Drove to Mini on Monday. Great dinner with Dean Brown. Got to hang out with him. Game day Tuesday. The European city of St. Paul, Minnesota. And then on Wednesday, long drive back. And here we are, man. Don't have to wait long to do it again, though.
Yeah. That was it's been a great road trip. Obviously, would have liked to have 2 for 2, but 13-1-1 is still a very impressive record.
It flows well.
13-1-1, nothing wrong with that, Ross.
14-1-1 sounds even better. We'll hope to do that on Saturday, April 13th with our better halves in the building. So
Yep.
hopefully they bring us some luck or they won't be invited back.
Exactly.
All right. Any final thoughts on today's show?
Yes, Ross. Final thoughts for me, and very rare that I'm prepared with final thoughts. You would think after doing 1,017 episodes where you ask me for final thoughts every single time, I would have something ready, but I usually don't. However, this time I'm ready. The Walter Cup for the PWHL, the trophy for the champions of the PWHL has been announced.
Ottawa, you mean?
Hopefully we see PWHL Ottawa lift it, but this is a nice looking trophy, and I love when they give little insights. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out on Twitter. They give little insights to the design of it. It's a good looking cup, and Ross, it weighs 35 pounds. Isn't that the exact same weight as the Stanley Cup?
How much does the Stanley Cup weigh?
I'm pretty sure it's 35 pounds. So this trophy is looking good. The thing, a lot of
Whoa.
it weighs more.
No, the Stanley Cup just got half upped. Stanley Cup weighs 34 and a half pounds. This weighs 35.
Okay, well, there you go. So hopefully we see the good women of the PWHL Ottawa team. be the
Emily
first
Clark
to
would
lift
look
this one up.
great holding this up.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and you can see if you're watching on YouTube as well, you got lots of different kind of like engravings and things that are really going to make this a unique trophy and hopefully one that's around for a long while.
Yep.
Apparently, it's the Walter family was very critical in allowing the PWHL to have a team. So yeah, really cool, and they're on their World Women's Championship break right now. Our girl Abby Murphy,
Yes.
who was on the show, you might remember her as the woman from Minnesota, do the Ridley Gregg slap shot. She came on with us. She's in the top 6 for Team USA, and this isn't the like under 21, under 22. This is like the big dogs
Yeah,
playing,
huge.
and she's 21 years old. She's unreal. So good for Abby and
Cheer
Emily
for her.
Clark, friend of the show as well, with Team Canada. So obviously go Canada, go at any event, any level, any gender. It's always go Canada, go. And yeah, we're even gonna have to cheer for Zach Hyman on Team Canada. Darn. And Sam Reinhart probably too. All jokes aside, though, we appreciate everybody following along our little journey here on Twitter at Sens Central, LockedOn.Senators. Should thank TSN for throwing us on the broadcast too. That was hilarious.
A couple of Sens fans.
People were saying that it was like the perfect encapsulation of Sens fans because you were kind of like, squinting, and I was just looking off into the distance. Sens hockey 2024.
Yeah, I don't remember what that moment was like, but I think we could have had a little bit more cheerfulness to ourselves. But at that point, I'm sure the Ottawa Senators were in a tough spot.
Yes. Hey, they battled back. They're down 2-0. They made it 2-2. And then, yeah, well, for more on that, go check out that postcast and yesterday's episode of Locked On Senators. That's it for us today. We'll be back in the postcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.